The Galaxy Council chamber was silent, the kind of silence that carried fear. Every alien delegate stared at the glowing map above the table. The map showed a dark sector of space, a place known as the Dead Zone. No ship had ever returned from there. The council leader, a tall insectoid with trembling wings, spoke with a nervous tone. "We sent 15 fleets into the Dead Zone. None returned. Their signals faded. Their ships vanished. Their crews are gone. We cannot risk more lives." Murmurs filled the chamber. Reptilian diplomats hissed. Avian ambassadors clicked their beaks in worry. Even the warlike Kranith beasts lowered their eyes. Everyone agreed the mission was a suicide mission. Then the doors opened. Slow and steady footsteps echoed. A group of humans entered. They wore simple uniforms, not decorated like the proud armor of alien warriors, but practical, scarred and worn. At their lead was Captain Elias. Calm eyes, a faint smile on his face. The council members whispered, "Humans. Why are they here?" Captain Elias looked at the map. He raised one eyebrow. "So this is the Dead Zone," he said with a relaxed tone. "And you call it a suicide mission." He paused. "Well, to us, it sounds like just another day." Gasps shook the chamber. The council leader flapped his wings in disbelief. "Human, you do not understand. This zone destroys everything. No one can survive." Elias simply shrugged. "We have survived worse. Send us." The chamber fell into chaos. Voices overlapped. "They are insane. They want death. Fools." But deep inside, some aliens felt a spark of relief, because if anyone would try, maybe it could only be humans. Hours later, in orbit around a neutral station, the human warship Iron Resolve prepared to depart. Unlike alien ships polished with elegance, the human ship looked like a patchwork of steel and scars. Its hull bore marks of countless battles, yet its engines roared strong. Inside the bridge, the crew worked with casual rhythm. One officer chewed gum while scanning systems, another played music softly in the background. The youngest crew member leaned back on his chair and joked, "So, what's for dinner after the suicide run?" Laughter filled the room. Captain Elias stood at the center, calm as ever. "Focus on the mission," he said. But there was no fear in his voice, no hesitation, only a strange confidence, the kind only humans carried. From across the galaxy, alien fleets tuned their sensors to watch. They wanted proof. They wanted to see humans fail like everyone else. The Iron Resolve drifted toward the Dead Zone, its hull glowing against the endless void. The stars around the zone looked twisted, bent by strange energy. Even the scanners screamed warnings. Gravitational tides tore at space itself. Alien observers whispered, "They are doomed." Why do they laugh? Why do they look so calm? The human crew checked their controls as if they were preparing for a morning routine. Shields up, weapons ready. But no panic, they joked. They teased each other. One even poured coffee into a cup as the ship shuddered under the first wave of distortion. Captain Elias leaned forward, eyes locked on the swirling black horizon ahead. "Remember, this is not death. This is work." The ship entered. Silence swallowed everything. No signal escaped. To the aliens outside, the humans were gone. But inside, the Iron Resolve powered forward. Alarms flickered. Strange whispers filled the comms. Voices from broken transmissions, maybe from lost fleets, maybe from something older. But the humans did not break. They only leaned closer, curious. Young Officer Mira spoke softly. "Captain, it feels like ghosts are speaking." Elias nodded. "Then we listen. Maybe ghosts have stories to tell." As the ship dove deeper, the void revealed wreckage, broken ships, shattered hulls drifting like bones in space, all alien, all silent. The humans studied them with sharp eyes. "They all panicked," Elias whispered. "That is why they failed." The crew tightened formation. Scanners picked up a massive shadow ahead, something too large to be a ship. It drifted without motion, a grave in the void. "Captain, we found it," Mira said, her voice trembling. The massive silhouette belonged to a dreadnought, ancient, alien, lost for centuries. It floated like a ghost fortress, and its hull still glowed faintly with power. Aliens watching from afar gasped. Even through fractured signals they saw the size. "They cannot survive this." But the humans smiled. Elias whispered, "Just another day," and gave the order, "Prepare boarding teams." The crew cheered. eager for the impossible, while outside, galaxies held their breath. The dead zone swallowed the iron resolve whole. No starlight shone here, only shifting shadows and broken signals. The silence was so heavy that even the hum of the ship's engines felt loud. Inside the bridge, the crew sat in tense calm. Screens flickered with distorted readings. Strange symbols flashed and vanished. Whispers leaked through the comms, broken voices of languages unknown. Officer Mira adjusted her headset. "Captain, these signals, they are not natural. It sounds like voices calling for help." Captain Elias leaned closer, his eyes scanning the data. The sound was faint, like cries from the grave. "Those are not living voices," he said calmly. "They are echoes, shadows of the fleets that came before." The younger crew members grew uneasy, but the veterans only smirked. "Ghosts again, at least they are polite," one of them joked. Laughter rippled across the room. Outside, wreckage drifted endlessly. Massive alien warships cracked open like eggs, their power cores still glowing weakly, their weapons frozen in silence. Each ship told the same story. They entered, they fought, they died. But humans looked at the wrecks differently. Elias raised his hand. "Mark their positions, study their mistakes, we will not repeat them." As the scanners swept deeper, something strange emerged. The wreckage was not random, it was arranged in patterns, whole fleets destroyed in circles, like prey caught in a web. Mira frowned. "Captain, this is not chaos, something hunted them." Before Elias could reply, alarms screamed. Gravitational spikes surged, the ship shook as if giants had grabbed it. Metal groaned, the crew held firm. "Stabilize shields," Elias ordered with calm certainty. The helm officer gritted his teeth. "It feels like the void itself wants to tear us apart." Elias gave a thin smile, then let it try. Alien fleets watching from afar received fragments of the human transmission. Static filled their channels. They heard laughter, human laughter. In the middle of what they considered certain doom, disbelief spread. "They mock death," whispered one alien commander. "They are mad." The iron resolve pushed deeper. The whispers grew clearer. They now formed words in broken alien tongues. "Turn back. You cannot win. Death waits." One of the younger crewmen shivered. "Captain, even the dead are warning us." Elias turned to him, his gaze steady. "And if the dead could return, would they not try again? We are not here to listen to fear. We are here to write a different story." The crew straightened, their resolve hardening. Suddenly, the scanners locked on a massive object ahead. It drifted slowly, larger than any battleship the humans had ever seen, its outline jagged, its hull scarred but still glowing faintly. It was the dreadnought they had spotted earlier, now looming. The docking clamps latched onto the alien dreadnought, the airlock hissed, and with a blast of steam, the humans stepped inside. Darkness greeted them, the halls stretched wide, alien architecture twisted with strange symbols glowing on the walls. The air smelled of dust and ozone. Every step echoed like thunder. Mira whispered through the comms, "Captain, readings show movement, but no life signs." Elias raised his rifle. "Then we stay sharp." They moved through empty corridors, past broken control panels and shattered doors, until they reached a vast chamber. Here, skeletal remains of the alien crew floated in zero gravity, their bodies twisted in final terror, their weapons still clutched tightly. The humans looked around, silent for a moment. Then one soldier muttered, "They died afraid." Elias nodded. "Fear killed them before the enemy did. That will not be our fate." But as those words echoed, the chamber lights flickered, ancient systems hummed to life, turrets unfolded from the walls, their barrels glowing with deadly energy. "Contact," Mira shouted. The turrets fired, beams sliced through the air, but the humans did not panic. They moved like dancers, dodging, rolling, returning fire with brutal precision. The clash of old weapons against human grit filled the chamber. From outside, the alien fleets watching gasped as faint flashes of light leaked from the dreadnought. They whispered, "They are gone. No one survives that." But moments later, the comms crackled with human voices, laughter again. "Target practice," a soldier joked. As the turrets fell silent one by one, the humans regrouped, smoke rising around them. Elias stepped forward, his voice steady. "These are only shadows of defenses. The true danger lies ahead." As if answering his words, the dreadnought shuddered, the walls trembled, and far away, deep within the ship, engines roared too. Life Mira's eyes widened. "Captain, it is not dead. The entire ship is waking." Elias gave a grim smile. "Good, let it wake. We came here for a challenge." The alien fleets outside caught the growing energy surge. Their leaders shouted in fear, "Pull back the scanners, the ghost ship is alive." But humans pressed forward, fearless, walking into the heart of a nightmare with steady steps. The dreadnought systems screamed awake, corridors lit with crimson, automated drones poured from hidden chambers, weapons primed, engines flared. And there, in the silence before the storm, Captain Elias whispered 3 words that echoed into eternity. "Just another day." The alien dreadnought trembled as its core awakened. Deep inside, engines hummed with unnatural power, red lights crawled across its hull like veins, every corridor filled with a low growl, as if the ship itself had come alive. The human boarding team held their ground, rifles steady, their breathing calm. Automated drones poured out of hidden bays, metal bodies armed with claws and plasma weapons, their eyes glowing a deadly blue. "Contact front," shouted Mira, as the first wave rushed forward. Bolts of plasma burned through the dark, but the humans did not scatter. They moved as one, covering each other, firing in controlled bursts. Every drone that fell echoed across the hollow ship. Aliens watching from distant scanners trembled. Their fleets had once faced those same drones and perished in minutes. Yet here, humans fought them like it was sport. One soldier even laughed. "This is easier than training." The dreadnought responded, its systems adapting. More drones spilled out, heavier, faster, carrying shields and cannons. The halls shook with thunder, but Elias stood tall at the center, his voice calm. "Hold the line, adjust pattern Bravo." The crew shifted seamlessly, forming a living wall of fire. Grenades lit the chamber, explosions tore drones apart, smoke filled the air, yet humans advanced step by step. Still, the enemy numbers swelled, their endless march a tide of death, until suddenly the entire ship shuddered. Outside, the dreadnought's weapons flared to life, its colossal cannons glowing, targeting the iron resolve docked against its hull. "Captain," Mira's voice cracked through comms, "the dreadnought is arming its guns. Our ship is in range." Elias narrowed his eyes. "Signal the bridge. Prepare counterfire." On the iron resolve, alarms wailed. The crew at the helm locked onto the dreadnought's weapons. "Target locked, waiting on your command." Elias spoke with iron in his tone. "Fire." The void lit up as human cannons roared, shells slammed into the dreadnought's guns, sparks and shrapnel scattered across space. The alien observers gasped. Never before had anyone dared to fire back at the ghost ship, but the dreadnought was far from beaten. Its systems shifted, and then came the sound, a deep metallic groan that spread across the void, like an army waking. From the wreckage field around them, shapes began to stir, broken ships twisted, shattered hulls reformed, glowing engines reignited. One by one, the fallen fleets rose. The alien council watching screamed in disbelief. Impossible. They were destroyed centuries ago. But the truth stood before them. The dreadnought had not only defended itself, it had enslaved the wreckage of past fleets, binding them into a ghost fleet of drones and warships, hundreds of them, circling like vultures around prey. On the iron resolve, the crew stared at their scanners, the screen filled with hostile signals, red marks blotting every corner. "Captain, we are surrounded." Elias looked at the sight, his voice steady. "Good. Makes it easier to shoot in every direction." Laughter spread across the bridge. The crew manned their stations with fierce joy. Then the battle began. The ghost fleet descended in swarms. Wepo. Ends blazing, the void became a storm of fire and wreckage. The iron resolve danced through the chaos, engines roaring, its maneuvers sharp and reckless, human reflexes outmatched alien programming. The ship rolled, twisted, and returned fire with brutal precision. Inside the dreadnought, Elias and his boarding team pushed deeper, their rifles blazing. Every drone that fell cleared the way to the central core. Mira shouted over the roar, "Captain, the ship itself is the command. If we shut the core, the fleet dies." Elias nodded, his voice calm despite the storm. "Then we cut the heart." The humans charged forward, every step through fire and smoke. Explosions shook the hall, but they pressed on, their courage carving a path where no alien had survived. Outside, alien observers wept in disbelief, watching humans face what entire empires had feared. And instead of breaking, they seemed to thrive. Their ship burned, their soldiers bled, yet their voices carried laughter and defiance. The dreadnought unleashed its last horror. A massive wave of energy pulsed out, freezing ships mid-flight. The Ghost Fleet tightened its noose. On the bridge of the Iron Resolve, the helm officer shouted, "They're closing in, Captain. Orders!" Elias's voice came calm over the comms. "Orders are simple. Fight like it's just another day." And with those words, the humans roared, their guns blazing, their ship defying the void. As the Ghost Fleet closed in like a storm without end, the void burned with fire. The Ghost Fleet surrounded the Iron Resolve like a storm of shadows. Hundreds of ships, each glowing with stolen energy, their weapons charged, their engines screaming in silence. To the alien observers across the galaxy, it looked like the end, they whispered. No one can survive this. No one has ever survived this. But inside the Iron Resolve, the crew moved like it was routine, high and steady, eyes sharp. They laughed, they joked, they fought as if death itself was an old friend. "Targets all around us," shouted the helm officer. "Where do we start?" Captain Elias leaned forward, his voice calm. "Start everywhere." The ship surged, engines roaring, shields flaring. It twisted through the Ghost Fleet with impossible maneuvers, turning into a predator among prey. Alien commanders watching could not believe what they saw. The human ship did not flee. It danced. Every roll, every dive, every sudden strike looked like madness. Yet it was perfect. The Ghost Fleet fired in unison. Beams of plasma cut through space. Missiles streaked in deadly arcs. But the Iron Resolve slipped through them with insane reflexes, its hull scarred, its shields crackling but never breaking. Inside the bridge, one officer hummed a tune, another drummed fingers on the console. Mira grinned as her screen lit with hostile locks. "Captain, they are everywhere. It feels like a party." Elias gave a thin smile. "Then let's dance." Cannons roared. Human guns spat fire into the void. Ghost ships exploded into burning wreckage. The Iron Resolve carved a path of destruction, its crew cheering each kill. But the Ghost Fleet adapted. They tightened formation, their tactics shifting, the dreadnought's mind guiding them like a single beast. Suddenly, 3 massive cruisers closed in, their weapons charging for a combined strike, energy pulsing in deadly rhythm. "Captain, triple lock. They will fire together," Mira warned. Elias's eyes narrowed. "Then we move faster." The Iron Resolve dove straight toward them, head on. Alien observers screamed in disbelief. "They are insane. They are flying into death." The cruisers fired, beams converging into a wall of light. But at the last instant, the human ship rolled, sliding through the narrow gap like a blade through silk. The beams scorched past, missing by meters. "Return fire," Elias ordered. Missiles streaked out, cannons through. And dared, the 3 cruisers erupted into fireballs, their debris scattering into the void. The crew erupted with laughter. One soldier shouted, "Who calls this suicide? This is breakfast." But the battle was far from over. The dreadnought pulsed again, its command sending shockwaves through the fleet. Hundreds more ships activated, weapons blazing. The swarm thickened. The Iron Resolve now faced a storm so dense that even Elias's calm eyes flickered with intensity. "Captain, shields dropping to 30%, the engineer called. "Hull integrity failing." Elias's voice never wavered. "We hold, humans do not fall so easily." Outside, the Ghost Fleet pressed closer, ships forming a spiral, trapping the Iron Resolve in a tightening circle, the void glowing with death. Mira clenched her fists. "Captain, they are hurting us like prey." Elias smiled. "Then let's show them prey has teeth." He ordered the engines to full. The ship surged upward, cutting through the spiral with reckless force, colliding with drones, tearing through wrecks, explosions bursting around them. The crew fired in every direction. The ship spun, rolled, turned, every move insane but deliberate. It was no longer a battle. It was a dance, a deadly rhythm of chaos and brilliance. The galaxy watched in awe. Alien generals who once mocked humans now sat in silence, their hearts pounding. They had never seen war like this. But the dreadnought was not done. Its core pulsed brighter. its colossal body shifting. The wreckage around it obeyed, forming a wall of fire, a cage to trap the humans forever. On the bridge, Mira shouted, "Captain, the dreadnought itself is moving. It's taking control of the battle." Elias stared at the massive shadow forming ahead, larger than mountains, glowing with endless rage. "Good," he whispered. "A dance is better with a partner." The iron resolve turned its gun. The crew's laughter rising, the void shook with thunder. And as the ghost fleet closed in from every side, Elias gave his order, calm, fearless, unshakable. "We fight to the last breath because for us, this is just another day." The battlefield burned, wreckage drifted across the void like bones of fallen giants. The ghost fleet still circled, but now the real threat emerged. The alien dreadnought pulsed with power, its hull split open like the shell of a beast awakening from centuries of sleep. Hidden cannons unfolded, engines ignited, and strange symbols glowed along its armor like scars of ancient wars. Aliens watching across the galaxy trembled, their voices filled with fear. "It is not a dreadnought," one whispered. "It is a guardian, a weapon left behind by something older." On the bridge of the Iron Resolve, the crew stared at the scanners. The readings made no sense. Energy levels off the charts. Mass impossible to calculate. It was less a ship and more a god. Mira's hands shook slightly on her console. "Captain, this thing is not just defending itself. It commands the entire sector. It is the heart of the dead zone." Elias's face stayed calm, but his eyes burned with focus. "Good. Then we found the source. Now we cut it down." The Guardian moved, slowly at first, but every movement shook the void, its weapons aligned, cannons larger than cities charged with light that bent space itself. The wreckage of fallen fleets rotated around it like moons around a planet, forming a shield of corpses. The human crew could feel the pressure. Every alarm screamed. The ship rattled as energy waves spread. One engineer shouted, "Captain, one direct hit from those guns and we are gone." Elias did not flinch. "Then we make sure it never hits." The Guardian fired. A beam of white fire stretched across the void. Everything in its path dissolved into dust. Asteroids, wreckage, even the ghost ships vanished instantly. The beam tore space open, leaving scars of light behind. The Iron Resolve spun hard. The crew braced. The beam missed by a breath. Heat washed over the hull. Alarms blared. But they survived. Laughter erupted across the bridge. One officer shouted, "That was close enough to cook dinner." Alien observers could not comprehend it. "They laugh," one whispered. "Even when death passes within meters, they laugh." Elias stood firm. Return fire. Cannons thundered, missiles streaked. The human ships struck the Guardian's outer shields. Explosions lit its armor, but the blasts barely scratched the surface. The Guardian only roared louder. Inside the boarding team, soldiers pushed deeper into the dreadnought's halls. They reached a chamber unlike any they had seen. Walls of crystal, pulsing energy veins. At the center, a core the size of a mountain, glowing with endless power. Mira's voice came through comms, urgent. "Captain, the core is not just a reactor. It is alive. It is aware." Elias narrowed his eyes. "Then we kill it before it learns too much." The Guardian responded. Drones swarmed, thousands this time, every corridor filled with enemies. The humans fought tooth and nail, rifles blazing, grenades shaking the halls, every step bought with blood and sweat. Outside, the Guardian unleashed a second blast. This time it curved through space, bending physics itself, chasing the Iron Resolve like a serpent of fire. "Evasive, full burn," shouted the helm. The ship twisted, spun, flipped end over end, the crew gripping consoles as artificial gravity failed. Sparks rained across the bridge. Still they maneuvered. The beam grazed the hull, tearing armor. The ship screamed in pain, bulkheads shattered, but still it lived. Elias's voice cut through the chaos, calm and sharp. "Repair teams, hold the line. This ship is not done." Aliens watching could not believe their eyes. MP. Rees had fallen to the Guardian in moments, yet one human ship still fought, scarred, burning, but alive. Mira's team reached the core chamber. Energy crackled, voices filled the air, whispers of countless dead crews, their last moments etched into the Guardian's mind. One soldier covered his ears. "Captain, it is speaking. It wants us to give up." Elias's reply came through steady, "Then speak back with fire." The humans unleashed everything, explosives planted against the crystal walls, gunfire tearing through drones. The core pulsed brighter, fighting back with psychic pressure, filling their minds with fear. One soldier dropped to his knees, whispering, "We cannot win." Elias's voice cut through like steel. "We are humans. We do not surrender to fear. Fear surrenders to us." The team roared, their courage blazing brighter than the Guardian's whispers. They planted the last charges, ready to strike the heart. Outside, the Guardian prepared its ultimate attack, its entire body glowing, weapons primed, power building to a level never seen before. Alien observers whispered prayers, waiting for the humans to be erased. Inside the bridge, Mira shouted, "Captain, it is charging something massive, bigger than anything we've seen." Elias stared into the void, his voice calm but deadly. "Then we strike first." And with a final order, he commanded both the Iron Resolve and the boarding team. "All fire, all charges, everything we have now." The void erupted, humans against a god, their courage against an ancient weapon. The clash shook the galaxy. The void screamed as the ancient Guardian fired its doomsday weapon. A beam larger than a planet's surface tore across the stars. Space itself cracked under the pressure. Entire chunks of wreckage vaporized instantly. The Iron Resolve stood in its path, its shields already broken, its hull scarred and bleeding fire. The bridge shook violently. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Consoles exploded. Crew members were thrown from their stations. "Impact in 5 seconds, Mira shouted, her voice breaking under the roar. Elias gripped the command rail, his eyes burning with steady fire. "Brace!" The beam struck. The ship shuddered as if the universe itself had tried to crush it. Bulkheads ripped apart. Corridors exploded in flames. Half the ship went dark. Alarms screamed everywhere. Alien fleets watching across the galaxy gasped. To them, the human ship was gone. Nothing could survive such a blast. "It is over," one whispered. "Even humans cannot fight gods." But inside the wreck, voices still rose, coughing, groaning, refusing silence. The crew dragged each other back to stations, bloodied but unbroken. The engineer shouted, "Captain, reactors offline, shields gone, weapons minimal. We are dying." Elias's voice cut through the chaos, calm as ever. "We are not dying. We are fighting. Patch what you can. Turn everything into a weapon." The crew obeyed, with madness and brilliance. They rerouted power through emergency lines. One officer ripped open a panel and jammed wires together with his bare hands. Another converted the coffee machine into a coolant bypass. Sparks flew, but systems roared back to life. On the boarding team, Mira and her soldiers stood in the core chamber. Explosions shook the walls. The energy crystal pulsed like a beating heart. Drones poured in endless waves, but the humans fought on, their rifles smoking, their armor scorched. One soldier threw his last grenade, shouting, "For Earth," before being dragged down by drones, but his blast cleared the way for the others. Mira planted the final charge against the glowing veins of the core, her voice fierce. "Captain, we are ready, but the core is resisting. It is fighting us." Elias's voice came through steady. "Then fight harder. No machine, no monster, no god has ever outlasted a human will." The boarding team roar, Ed firing as they held the line. Outside, the Iron Resolve limped through fire, its engines coughing sparks, its guns almost silent, but Elias ordered the impossible. "Bring us closer to the Guardian." The helm officer blinked. "Closer, Captain. It will kill us." Elias smiled, blood dripping from his brow. "It will kill us anyway if we stay away, so we stab it in the heart." The ship surged forward, dragging its broken frame through the battlefield. Debris slammed against its hull. Ghost ships rained fire, but the humans returned every shot, every missile, every shell. They turned wreckage into cover, using shattered ships as shields, insane maneuvers no alien mind would dare. The alien observers wept in disbelief. One commander whispered, "They are not fighting to live. They are fighting because they refuse to stop." The Guardian charged again, its core glowing like a newborn star. It prepared to unleash another beam, this one strong enough to split moons apart. Inside the bridge, the crew shouted over failing systems. Captain, one more hit, and we are gone. Elias closed his eyes for a brief moment, then opened them with fire. Then we hit first. At that same instant, Mira's team detonated the charges, explosions rocked the core chamber, light flared brighter than suns. The Guardian screamed, a sound not of metal, but of something alive, ancient and furious. The Ghost Fleet faltered, ships froze, their weapons silent, some drifted powerless, the connection between them and the Guardian breaking. But the Guardian was not finished, its body cracked, but from the cracks poured rivers of energy, its core bleeding power into the void, its weapons firing wildly in rage. The Iron Resolve dove straight into the storm, every gun blazing, its crew screaming defiance. The ship itself seemed to roar. Every scar, every broken panel, every fire inside became part of its fury. The beam fired again, airing across the void. This time it struck the human ship head-on. Silence followed. Captain, the helm officer shouted, if it fires again, we will not survive. Elias gave a thin smile, his voice calm. Then we fire first. He ordered every remaining weapon online, even emergency turrets, even mining drills, even the broken plasma cutters from repair bays. The ship itself became a weapon. Inside the dreadnought, Mira rallied her team. Soldiers bloodied and broken stood with her. They planted the last explosives directly into the veins of the core. One soldier laughed through blood. If this does not work, at least we make history. Mira raised her rifle, her voice fierce. We already did. The Guardian's body convulsed. Power reached its peak, its beam ready to ignite. At that moment, Elias shouted across every channel, all fire, all charges, everything now. The Iron Resolve unleashed its soul. Cannons thundered, missiles streaked, emergency systems overloaded. Even the reactors spat raw energy into the void. Inside the dreadnought, the charges exploded, ripping through the core like lightning. The Guardian screamed, the sound echoing not only in space but in the minds of every living being watching. A cry of rage, of loss, of something ancient dying at last. Then the explosion came. Light brighter than creation itself. Waves of power tearing through wreckage. Flames swallowing the battlefield. The Guardian cracked apart, its massive frame collapsing inward, imploding into a newborn star. The shockwave hurled the Iron Resolve like a toy. Its hull groaned. Fires spread, the crew held on to anything they could, screaming against the roar until silence followed. Alien fleets held their breath, waiting for confirmation. Scanners showed only fire, only the birth of a star where the dead zone once stood. Then, slowly, through the burning light, a broken silhouette emerged. The Iron Resolve, scarred, battered, engines sparking but alive. The Galaxy gasped, disbelief spreading. Impossible, one alien whispered. They survived the Guardian, another said. No one returns from the dead zone. But the humans did. On the bridge, the crew sat slumped, exhausted but smiling. Laughter bubbled through cracked lips. One soldier leaned back and whispered, we should get medals for this, another replied. No, just dinner. Mira's voice came weak but steady. Captain, we did it. The Guardian is gone. Elias looked out at the newborn star, his face calm, his voice steady. It was never about the Guardian, it was about proving who we are. He turned to his crew, battered but unbroken. Remember this, no matter what the galaxy calls impossible, for us, it is just another day. The crew cheered weakly, their laughter echoing through the wrecked halls. Across the galaxy, the story spread. Alien leaders who once mocked humans now whispered their names in fear. Empires that called them reckless now saw the truth. Humanity's greatest weapon was not their ships, not their guns, but their refusal to surrender. The dead zone, once a place of death, now burned with new light, a star born from human defiance. And in that light, the legend of humanity grew, not as conquerors, not as survivors, but as the ones who laughed at death, stared at gods, and walked away saying, just another day.